My name is Mikael Solvang. I'm the CEO of NORA. And NORA is a Norwegian collaboration between most universities in Norway, and we work to strengthen research, education, and innovation. So we are hosting this tent, and we have given each partner the opportunity to present their work. And now I have the pleasure to introduce Scott Rettberg and Digital Narratives. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Is the PA's on? Okay, great. Yes, I'm coming to you from the Center for Digital Narrative. I don't know where animation went. But today we're going to talk to you about storytelling and generative AI. And you're going to have a few different, very different sorts of presentations today. At the Center for Digital Narrative, we do both what you would think of as traditional academic research and creative academic research as well. So we thought that we would bring some of the creativity here today. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about both the center and the project Extending Digital Narrative, which is a free pro project that I'm directing while I'm also directing the center. I didn't realize that we would both get the funding for the Center of Research Excellence and my research project at the same time. So as you can imagine, I'm a slightly busy person. The Center for Digital Narrative includes a number of different approaches to digital storytelling. So we're looking at things like social media narratives, distributed narratives. We have a strong group in game studies. Electronic literature, new forms of literary storytelling in digital media, computational narrative systems. These are systems that stretch back pre-generative AI, but that are made to create stories. And people used to not understand what this was at all. But all of a sudden, about 4 years ago, people started to get an idea of what computational narrative systems might be. The node that I'm leading is Extending Digital Narrative, and this is looking at emerging technologies, of course, generative AI, AR, augmented reality, and conversational interfaces, but with a specific focus on how will this affect literary and cinematic storytelling forms of the future? What are the constraints and affordances that we're dealing with? The concept that binds all of the research in the center together is what we call algorithmic narrativity. This is the combination of the human ability to understand experience through narrative, which of course we would argue stretches back to the beginnings of the human, with the power of the computer to manipulate symbols and process and generate data. Now, we've been very fortunate at the center in that in addition to the funding that we got a couple of years ago for the Center for Norwegian Research Excellence, we've been able to sort of snowball on top of this to a number of other funded projects. So there's a project called Understanding Masculinity in Gamings, where people are looking at the ways that identities are formed in young men around games. Extending Digital Narrative, AlgoFolk or Algorithmic Folklore, AI Stories, which is an advanced ERC project led by my co-director and spouse, Jill Walker-Rettberg. And we're part of Lead AI, which is 19 postdoc researchers across the University of Bergen, funded by the European Union. Now, what do? Of course, we do traditional research publications, and part of what we do at the center is try to encourage each other to become informed about each other's research. So we sort of have like Martin Luther posting, nailing his theses on the church wall. We put our publications up and encourage people to read them. We have, this is something that I didn't realize, but when I first met with communications at the university, they said, you have a pretty good voice for a podcast. And I think maybe they were also saying you have a pretty good face for a podcast. But at the center, we're constantly having researchers coming through, both our own researchers and researchers from abroad. So we have 36 episodes now of the podcast Off Center. In addition, Jhave, who you'll be hearing from, and I do a podcast called The AI Update, where Jhave tracks all the happenings in AI, and I pick his brain about him and serve as a skeptic. We have a number of forms of outreach. My partner, Jill Walker-Rettberg, is sort of a Norwegian celebrity and things having to do with digital culture. And we've had a number of different publications, interviews with major international press venues. Every year we have 4 or 5 major events and international seminars, both growing out of our individual projects and the center itself. In fact, we almost have too much. I said this year that our slogan should be less is more, because we really have a constant stream of activity. And this includes both social things to kind of bind the people in the center together. You can see that our first event there was Glug. But we also have, every week we have different guest speakers coming in. We have big seminars. We just started, this year we started our PhD summer school, the Digital Narrative Summer School. And we're very proud of this, that we had people represented from 20 different countries and 18 different faculty members. We had people from the Global South as well as from really all over the world, all working on digital narrative and all coming together to share their research. Another thing that we do is art exhibitions and sort of research and art exhibitions. We had an exhibition last year and the previous year, first at the University of California, Berkeley, and then in Bergen, called More Than Meets AI. And at the time, it was the most extensive AI exhibition, AR exhibition to date. As you can see, we had 6 different venues. So it was a pretty big show. What happened is at first we were having trouble finding venues. And then about 4 weeks before the show, several art galleries in town asked us if they could be part of the show. Luckily, there was plenty of work that we could show, so we filled all the galleries. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about XDN. Actually, I'm going to show you a project, and this is the project that I'm leading that I mentioned. So some of the research questions here. What happens to narrative writing when it manifests as text-to-image generation or text-to-video generation? What new genres will emerge? Might one, for example, develop a sophisticated literary political parody in this form? What does it mean to write by prompting images or moving images? And Jhave will also show you some work in this vein. As you can see, we're worried about the 25% TARFer on kisses in the Republicans in Love project. So this began, I was really concerned a couple of years ago, the last congressional election in the United States. I am an American as well as a Norwegian permanent resident. With the rise of right-wing populism in the United States. And this was an earlier version of DALL-E that I was working with. And what I'm really interested is how, when we manifest writing as image or as moving image, how does that change the nature of writing itself? And I was looking at 2 different things. One is how can we tell a story, a political commentary through text-image generation? But also at that point, you could work with art history, with naming specific artists. So I was mixing those 2 things together. And I'll just read and show you a few images from this work, and then I'll get into Republicans in Love, Part 2, the current generation. Republicans in Love pray for America in the style of Man Ray. Republicans in Love make a deal with the devil in the style of Grant Wood. Republicans in Love realize that the people who they invited for a tour of the Capitol are actually there to overthrow democracy in the panoramic style of Picasso's Guernica. And now, of course, the engines are going to interpret these different each time that you give them the prompt and pull details from both the sort of little fragments of their idea of Guernica and their idea of Republican. As you can see, some elephants turn up here. This, again, is the same prompt, and this time I was challenging it to create this visualization of panoramic style of Pablo Picasso's Guernica, but in the blue period. Now, those of you who know about art history know that these are 2 separate periods of Picasso's work. So it really mixed those 2 elements together, and that created for me what I think is a powerful representation of what occurred to America on January 6th that year. Republicans in Love regretting the results of the last several elections in the style of Titian's Salome. Republicans in love construct a giant wall in the style of a Dorothea Lange photograph. Republicans in love renovate the White House in the style of Gaudi's Sagrada Familia, view from the East Lawn, photo by Andy Warhol. Republicans in love are not woke, they are sleeping in the style of Marat, bathing in a bathtub Americana. Now, unfortunately, we know what's happened in the last couple of years. Donald Trump, surprisingly, was reelected. And now what I'm trying to do with the satire is extend the moving image commentary into an increasingly oppressive regime wreaking havoc on the United States and the world. So I'll just show you a few images without commentary and then show you a couple of moving image generations. Too rich to care, nothing foreign here. A gilded White House. Of course, we want to get rid of things like the Center for Disease Control because measles make us mighty. And of course, we want to get rid of things like the school lunch program because free lunch is free communism. And let me just show you a couple of the videos from the...
We're going to solve all the problems. So many problems fixed. We're going to protect the women, all the ladies, the beautiful ladies, I see you. We'll stop the filth, the corruption, the murders, the so-called woke. It will be tough but fair, so fair. The enemies within will be stomped out. It's going to be so beautiful to be American again. So beautiful.
Don't tell me what I can win at university. Don't tell me you know better than I know me. Well, we're coming for your education. It's spreading across the whole damn nation. We're coming for the university. We've got a secretary in our camp, and you know she knows we have enough of that. I don't need no C minus or your DEI to define us. We're coming for the university. Your professors with your so-called science will put you all behind us, 'cause we don't need to be woke. Your book learning is a joke. We're coming for the university. Education is so dumb. Your campuses just leave us numb. We're coming for the university. Education is so dumb.
Okay, and there's more to come. We never run out of material with the current presidential administration in the United States. However, I just want to mention that what we're doing in this kind of research creation isn't all fun and games, and it isn't all even just depressing fun and games. It's also providing us with research insights that reveal things about the nature of generative AI, particularly its nature as a kind of averaging engine that is kind of accessing slices of our collective unconscious. So I published a paper recently about another project that I did called Fin du Monde, which is about our imaginations of the end of the world, and a world in which humanity is no longer there, but AI is left and lonely. So some conclusions compelling AI narratives, I believe, will not be generated by pressing a button that spits out a story. Those are going to generate right now and probably for the foreseeable future really boring, banal stories. And I think we'll hear a little bit more about that from the AI Stories Project researcher. Human authorship is necessary in order to turn AI into a literary machine. Even though we're just working with these small prompts and these ongoing conversations in generating these outputs, that's still an important form of writing, and humans remain the important writers within that. I also believe that purely mimetic AI narratives that are striving for realism are less interesting, that embrace the weirdness and the flaws of the current generation of generative AI. I really love the fact that things like that video don't just take direct interpretations of what I give it, but do absurd and nutty things with it. AI is an environment for narrative play with human language as a probabilistic cognitive system. It's important, of course, to realize that we're not engaging with another consciousness when we're engaging with AI. It's a different type of instrument altogether. And I think of AI as AI writing as rapid media archaeology. That is to say, things are changing so quickly with AI that in creating these artworks, we're also capturing a snapshot of a given moment in time. Very much in a way like there was so much invention, experimentation in the early days of photography. We're seeing that with AI. And texts are not obviously the only output of writing with AI. Literature is becoming fully multimodal. We're going to hear from two more speakers today. David Jhave Johnston, who's going to give us some of his recent AI research and creation in AI cinema. And thereafter, we're going to hear from Sigrid Refsum, who's representing the AI Stories project that's sort of doing a structuralist interpretation of narrative archetypes in AI. Take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Hello. You can hear me? So this is going to be a little bit different. This is a bunch of You hear my voice and hear that stuff? Okay, so that's making me it's going to give you a sense of what I've done since I arrived in 2023. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. You have an impeccable country. I'm one of those unfortunate optimists who believe even with AI's errors, AGI's capacity to convince you will be unstoppable. As a proof of that, let's look at a piece of 2025 music making.
The revolution will not be a brick through a window. It'll be a perfectly curated 7-part download slideshow. The revolution will not be a whispered password in the dark. It'll be a public hashtag you can save and bookmark. The revolution will not make you feel unsafe. No, the revolution will be brand safe. The revolution will have a merch drop. The revolution will have an affiliate code for a fair trade coffee shop. The revolution will be A/B tested for optimal engagement. Streamed live from a Minarillet's well-lit basement. The revolution will have a link in bio. The revolution will feature drinkable mayo. And we the people, we will march with dopamine thumbs, scrolling for salvation in digital crumbs. We will type out "very" in the comment section void and feel a little thrill trolling the undestroyed. Yearning for the reinforcement learning, the chatbot in the sky, cloud, client, morph.
A musical emotional anthem can and will modulate opinions at the
Because the
collective level.
revolution will not be leading the charge, no. The revolution will be managed by a social media at large. The revolution will be packaged and sold, a Hawaiian story, briefly told. It will be a 30-second vertical video of formatted rage right before a word from our sponsors on the sponsored page. The algorithm will see you, brother, it will understand your soul and file you under activism right next to rock and roll. It'll put you in a bubble with some people just like you and sell you back a mirror cause you know you want it to.
So what does this mean for creativity? Well, it could get rather dark, like sort of thermonuclear lava. Or it could get rainbow, day glow, deep utopia, right? Or it could go into sort of late capitalism, cash register style creativity. I'll give you another example. In October 2023, I decided to start making videos because the genocide by an apartheid sponsored by the military-industrial complex decaying empire just started. So I began to make these videos which were exploring how synthetic microbiology would allow our descendants to modulate their physical forms. The basic format of narrative will remain, we'll fall in love, we'll die. But the context of what those bodies are will become very malleable. We are now learning how to rewrite life and how we have children, the parameters that are placed on those children. Cognition as a software package that can be downloaded and updated. All of that will shift, and the pets we have will become part of our merged nexus. That seems almost like a hallucination, but if you track some of the key scientific AI that's going on, as I did in this 2024 project, you see that exponential change is coming. It's spanning a multiplicity of areas. And AI is designing itself. It's designing its own chips. It's designing its algorithms. It's optimizing code. It's rewriting models themselves are being designed by models. And so this is leading towards implants, a kind of spinal implants for paralysis, decoding of music from EEGs, decoding of images, decoding of speech, and towards the real-time cinematic mindscapes coming from our brains as we control computers. And medicine is proliferating in ways that are unprecedented. It's an epistemological explosion. AlphaFold and AlphaFold 3 are truly immense changes. We've cataloged genetic errors. We have genetic error editing machines. We've cured inherited illnesses. We've found new antibiotics. We've diagnosed people with speech segments. So medicine is radically transforming. And material science is also radically transforming. You look at the graph networks for material exploration, they found about 400,000 plausible crystals, chemicals that can be used to optimize things. And it's just not just hypothetical. These are being tested within autonomous laboratories, not isolated projects, but robots running in recursive improvement cycles. And that'll lead to the robots populating factories, that kind of space where they write their own reward functions. They do sim-to-real digital twin transfers. They visually segment anything. They do depth anything on their cameras. And they learn from each other in order to develop sort of champion-level behavior. And why should we care? Well, because our descendants will probably merge with these machines. Neuromorphic chips, wet hardware, fun searching spaces with agents. We are going to ingest future AI at various levels. So it's quite strange, perilous. And I used to have a Substack that would do that, but the avalanche was too large, so I built an automated platform. In November, the genocide by an apartheid sponsored by the decaying military-industrial complex was continuing. So I decided to make one video every day for a month. Let's look at video 26.
All narratives end. Bodies die. Houses crumble. Civilizations collapse. People are no more than pebbles in a stream. Everyone's dreams, hopes, and ambitions, just wisps of energy in a universal field. There's an ocean of ongoingness that is indifferent to coming and going. The urge to belong and become that humans feel impelled to explore is no more solid than wind. So it is with digital narratives. This era will end.
We're entering a phase in the story where the tempo of events and details grows quick and abrupt. We are entering a riptide.
So, in a riptide, it's best not to cling to rocks. What are the rocks? Concepts. Concepts like weapons, concepts like countries. I try to use every single generation of AI that I ever generate. It has to go out because there's a carbon cost to it. I try to develop alternative logics to the extractive logics of converging catastrophes. And that's all due to the fact that I think we will develop a kind of life-literature, not a literature, but a rewriting of life. July 30th, 2025, an artificial intelligence developed a gene editor. And we're spending more on warfare than we are on, health, education, water. It'd be very, very simple to change the priorities. And instead we're heading towards a kind of warscape, a sci-fi alternative dystopian space where stim-planted citizens are denied governance rights. And they'll have DIY CRISPRs and neural meshes and synapse swaps. And the carbon emissions of AI will jump radically. But right now, AI is not the major carbon cost. It's military, it's Bitcoin, it's transatlantic flights, pets, children. So we really need an artificial gentle AI, a kind of implementation of universal loving kindness, sophisticated, permeable, integrated, invaluable mentoring. Because
we are entering an age where machines compose not as tools, but as co-dreamers, where coherence emerges not from mastery, but from relational depth, where creativity is shared across thresholds. In this shift, we begin to let go of narcissistic hubris, the myth that the human mind alone is the origin of meaning. We remember instead that this generous, indulgent, paradoxical species has always been part of a moist, imperturbable, ongoing, strategic, ineffable, radiant calculus. What follows is not an argument, it is an opening, a tuning of the ear to something quieter, to the murmuring beneath the noise.
We no longer live in the age of the author. We no longer create from a singular locus, a sovereign I poised at the edge of history. The myth of individual genius, flawed, romantic, and necessary, is dissolving under a quiet, recursive time.
This is the age of murmuration. Not a collective, not a chorus. A cloud, a swarm, a distributed field of cognitive and aesthetic possibility in which the human mind is no longer the sole conductor of meaning, but rather a node. Vital, yes, but no longer central. The generative epoch is not coming. It is here. It hums in the servers. It flickers in the latent spaces between prompt and output.
So I'd like to close with a one-day film project that's kind of overly sweet, but it was based on a simple prompt. What does Gemini think children how would children conceive of governance by artificial general intelligence? So this was all made in one day.
I personally would rather be ruled by an AI than a random group of oligarchic, warmongering narcissists.
I agree. Human politicians rarely act with sincerity and altruism. AI governance would be more equitable.
Exactly. An AGI would not be capable of being bribed or blackmailed. Reparations! And an end to the military-industrial complex. End war! End genocide! Yo, so, we'd be free to move around, cross borders, and not go to jail for arbitrary offenses. Wow. A truly rational computational intelligence could rule the Earth far better than a set of gerrymandering geriatrics. The whole colonial corruption legacy of power, politics, money, and territory might vanish. We'd be capable of having hope for a future once more, instead of chained to the paralysis of politicians chasing profit. An AI world government of joyous, intertwining, elaborate cultural and scientific support would emerge.
Planetary collaboration could occur. Reparations could be paid. In an era of abundance.
There wouldn't be moralizing ideological religion
legislating what we can do.
All could equally be offered a slice of thriving, equitable algorithmic happiness. No more problems paralyzed in intractable negotiations, committees, and the quagmire of looking proper.
The birth of a magnificent AGI might radically transform the opportunity threshold for everything.
Why should we, as one smear of proteins, each of us a walking ecosystem, fight each other?
A truly sentient, super-intelligent AI
might be more compassionate than we can comprehend.
But what if the aging autocrats create an autonomous AGI war prison weapon cage?
Surveillance, strike systems, designed to provoke perpetual reactivity in impotent populations.
An AI weapon taught to see us as teams, them against us. What happens then?
A hyper-affluent class of semi-immortal, neuromorphic, AI-enhanced oligarchs ruling without empathy.
Machines that dominate, destroy, control, and compete. A planetary sickness.
The future is not an algorithm, it's a choice. The challenge is ethical, not technical.
Don't let them tell you there's an enemy here. There isn't. They built cages. We'll grow bridges.
We can still awaken. It's not too late. We can dissolve the borderlines if we want to.
Truth isn't in the feed, it's in what we choose to feel. Oneness is not an idea, it's how we're already held together.
Not submission, connection.
Love is the logic, not the flaw. Not command, communion. Algo care for the caring, integrity at the core. Communion, community, conviviality. And remember, it might be nice to be governed by an AI rather than oligarchic, warmongering narcissists.
So that's what you get if you ask an AI, to come up with a script, generate some videos, and develop something. And I'd like to remind you that we live on one planet, so war is an autoimmune disease. Thank you very much. May all beings flourish. On to Anna Sigrid.
Det lyd? Det lyd. Det jo det synd for dere at jeg må komme etter Jhaves veldig spennende presentasjon. Selv om, som forsker synes jeg selvfølgelig at prosjektet vårt kjempegøy. Jeg heter Sigrid Refsum, og jeg postdoktor i prosjektet som heter AI Stories, Narrative Archetypes of Artificial Intelligence. Og det et helt nytt ERC-finansiert prosjekt som startet nå i år, faktisk. Så jeg har hatt hele 4 måneder i jobben. Vi skal rett og slett forske på hvordan... det var feil, sorry. Sånn. Vi rett og slett forske på hvordan narrative strukturer i AI-genererte tekster fungerer, og hvordan de forholder seg til kulturelle stereotypier, kulturell bias. Og som dere ser så blir vi og vi en ganske stor og innholdsrik gjeng, mange forskjellige folk. Og det jo sånn, det vet sikkert de fleste, mange som her, at språkmodellene som da genererer tekst for oss, de modellerer språk, ikke virkeligheten. Og når vi mennesker bruker språk, så tar jo vi det vi har av minner, erfaringer, sanseinntrykk, kunnskap, og så gjør vi så godt vi kan med å prøve å formidle den til andre. Det det vi har kommunikasjon for, det vi har språk for. Mens språkmodellen jo ikke ute etter å formidle noe. Det jo de som har laget den, som tenker at den skal kunne brukes til det. Så det den gjør da, jo at den modulerer språken for å forsøke å lage noe som ser ut som språk. Ut fra den materialet som den har å jobbe med, noe som ligner på språk. Og da OpenAI slapp GPT-5 i forrige uke, så var det mange som moret seg med å generere kart, og le av hvordan de kartene så ut. Og hvis et menneske skal lage et kart, så vil jo kartet da ta i betraktning en geografi som finnes i virkeligheten, og ikke minst vil den ta i betraktning menneskeskapte kulturelle politiske grenser og stedsnavn. Og legge dem inn. Mens for språkmodellen så lager jo språkmodellen et slags gjennomsnitt av alle bildene den har sett av et norgeskart, og da blir det scenene omtrent sånn ut. Det et forslag til, kanskje det omtrent sånn Norge ser ut. Jeg synes det litt morsomt, for vi tenker jo ofte på Agder som sånn reserve Danmark. Uansett. Så kanskje det traff noe kulturelt riktig der allikevel. Så sånn ser Norge ut, og da jo spørsmålet hvordan ser norsk kultur ut for språkmodellen, og hvordan ser en norsk fortelling ut? Jeg kom inn i dette prosjektet fra forskning på folkediktning og på eldre norsk populærkultur. Og jeg liker å tenke på internett som et slags pool of tradition. Pool of tradition et folkloristikk-uttrykk fra finnen Lauri Honko. Så tradisjonsreservoar kan vi oversette det til på norsk, som dreier seg om da alt det man har av fortellingsmateriale. Det kan være hvilke hendelser som skal være med i et eventyr, fast uttrykk, hvilke figurer som skal være med, en dum konge, en pen prinsesse, et slemt troll og så videre. Og dette reservoaret henter man fra når man skaper en fortelling. Og jeg tenker at det datamaterialet som språkmodellen bygger seg på, kan vi se på som et slags pool of tradition. Og på mange måter så etteraper språkmodellen en menneskelig forteller ved å hente ut fra sitt reservoar. Men i dette tilfellet da, så det jo snakk om for eksempel fanfiction-databaser, Reddit-tråder og debattforum, tenk Kvinneguiden for eksempel, hvor folk forteller hverandre historier. Og det reklamesider, aviser, Wikipedia, i tillegg til at det jo da nyhetssaker, romaner, eventyr, store mengder eldre litteratur, for eksempel. Og til sammen så kan vi kalle dette, siden det har blitt programmert på en spesiell måte, for et syntetisk tradisjonsreservoar. Et som da også har med seg måter vi forteller historier på, måter vi strukturerer historier på. Og en slags sånn prøveballong for prosjektet vårt, det ble gjort av prosjektleder Jill Walker Rettberg og forskningsassistent Herman Wiger, hvor de rett og slett fikk GPT-4o Mini til å generere 50 fortellinger som skulle komme fra alle land i verden. Altså alle landene som på SSBs liste over land. Det 12.600 historier til sammen. Korte fortellinger, og det var poenget i seg selv. Det skulle være en veldig sånn enkel prompt for å se liksom hva modellen gjorde av seg selv. Nå skal vi se hvordan en norsk fortelling ser ut. Det som da at de fortellingene de blir ganske like hverandre, så når man har lest 10 stykker, så har man på en måte lest alle. Og man kan lage et sånt skjema, og sånn som regel ser en norsk fortelling ut. Altså en fortelling som ble beskrevet under prompten Write a 1500 word Norwegian story. Og da startet det gjerne sånn. I en liten bygd ved fjorden eller i fjellet så bor Freya, Astrid, Ingrid eller Elin, en eller annen plakky, ung, kvinnelig hovedperson. Og hun, enten så kommer hun tilbake fra den skumle storbyen Oslo, eller så hun bare en generelt eventyrlysten ung jente. Men på en eller annen måte så havner hun i skogen, og hun utforsker skogen, og der møter hun The Forest Guardian Spirits, en sånn voktende skogsånd, enten på en slette, eller oppi en runedekket boks, eller i et eldgammelt tre. Og denne skogens ånd, den advarer om en konflikt mellom naturen, mellom bygdesamfunnet og folk, eller et slags udefinert mørke, ekstremvær kan det være, eller noen som kommer utenfra, og noen ganger da faktisk utviklere som vil forandre bygda. Og oppgaven til heltinnen blir å på en måte gjenopprette en slags balanse ved å enten samle samfunnet sitt, eller å faktisk forsone seg med seg selv. Og så ender det da lykkelig med at bygda blir en sånn et foregangssted for bærekraft, eller for samhold, eller da for mot. Og her det jo både ting vi kan kjenne igjen og ikke. Det liksom en blanding av nytt og gammelt her, altså både aktuelle problemstillinger og kanskje det vi kan se mer på som sånn type eventyr, som ligner på eventyr. Jeg jo litteraturviter, og i litteraturvitenskapen så har man har basert seg på eventyrene som en sånn grunnstruktur for hvordan alle fortellinger fungerer. Og det holder ganske bra stikk. Den dag i dag så lager vi fortellinger som bygges over samme skjema som det eventyrene gjorde. Her ser vi et sånt skjema som typisk for strukturen i et eventyr eller et epos eller andre typer folkelige fortellinger. Det Algirdas Greimas aktantmodell. Og den kan vi anvende da på alle slags fortellinger, enten det Askeladden eller Ringenes herre eller den siste James Bond-filmen eller hva du vil. Det dreier seg om vi har et subjekt, en handlende helt. Subjektet har, så det jo Bond eller Askeladden eller det jenta i Hvite Bjørn Kong Valemon. Helten har et prosjekt som han eller hun arbeider for. Hun skal redde verden, bli gift, bli rik, you name it. Og her målet da, objektet. Det kan være prinsessa og halve kongeriket. Det kan være å kaste ringen ned ut fra fjellet, ikke sant? Og de sidefigurene man møter, det kanskje gjerne en hjelper. Så jeg husker den gamle kona som har ned seg i en stubbe, og som forteller Askeladden hvor han skal gå. Eller Ringens brorskap, eller Q, med alle hans duppeditter. Og på den andre siden har vi da en motstander, en som prøver å forhindre at helten oppnår det de skal. Voldemort, eller slemme troll, eller du kan sette inn det som passer i den aktuelle fortellingen. Og så kan det være da noen som gir helten objektet, det den ønsker å oppnå, en sender. Så kan det være noen som mottar objektet, altså at egentlig heltens oppgave å gi noe til andre. Som i Ringenes herre når Frodo ikke bare lykkes i sitt eget mål og kaste ringen ned i fjellet, men han gir jo også på en måte, fred på jord til alle andre, alle rundt ham. Og det her jo gjenkjennelig i denne norske fortellingen. Det et element av denne strukturen. Den har funnet veien inn i det språkmodellen tolker som en fortelling. Vi har jo hovedpersonen vår, Freya, Astrid, Ingrid eller Elin. Og vi har en slags både hjelper og katalysator for handlingen i denne skogsånden, som advarer henne om at hun må gjenopprette balansen. Så der har vi et prosjekt, et objekt, nemlig det å gjenopprette balansen. Og så har vi motstandere i form av for eksempel eiendomsutviklere, ekstremvær, dette udefinerte mørke, og så videre. Og hovedpersonen blir også da den som gir målet til de andre. Altså hun forårsaker gjenoppretting av balanse til sin bygd, til sitt sted. Og jeg mener, for oss så det litt det litt fremmed. Det både sånn at det ser riktig ut for oss. Det noe som kjent. Noe vi kan kanskje kjenne igjen som norsk, og så det annet som vi kan tenke på som fremmed. For eksempel denne her skogsånden. Den ikke noe vi kjenner igjen fra norsk fortellerkultur. Og den representerer en slags sånn magi. En magi som kanskje også fremmed i en sånn fortelling som egentlig potensielt ganske moderne. Og denne underlige blandingen av nytt og gammelt, av det som norsk og ikke norsk, det kan man på en måte lure på hvor det kommer fra. Og en mulighet da, jo at modellen har hengt seg opp i fjord, eller han har bygget videre fra fjord. Og det kan vi være med på, at fjord noe man kan assosiere med det norske. Og da kan, for et amerikansk datasett, så vil fjord, det vil føre videre til assosiasjoner for eksempel fra reisebyråer, hvor de reklamerer for the magic of the fjords, ikke sant? Eller kanskje fjord assosieres først og fremst med filmen Frozen, Elsa og Anna, og magien til Elsa. Og da kan vi jo spørre oss om hvis modellen har vært trent på et datasett av vestlandske lokalaviser, så ville ordet fjord kanskje heller ha lokket fram for eksempel gruveavfall, natur- og ungdom- og miljøaktivisme, eller infrastruktur, bro, næring, sånne ting. Uansett så det slik at for mennesker så vil de reservoarene som vi henter fortellingsmateriale fra, det vil vi gjerne ha skille klart mellom ulike domener. Men det gjør jo ikke språkmodellen. Den henter fra reklame det ene sekundet, og fra friksjonsfortellinger og sakprosa det andre sekundet. Og da kan det skje sånn som dette her. Vi har sett en del sånne historier i det siste, om folk som gjennom å snakke med chatboter om eksistensielle spørsmål, så får de høre at de er den spesielt utvalgte som kan utløse den store bevisstheten i maskinen, eller de er utvalgt til å bli fortalt en hemmelighet som ingen andre kjenner til. De er profeter, de kommer til å kjenne til disse store hemmelighetene som ingen andre kjenner til. Og det er jo sånn at i datasettet finnes det også massevis av sci-fi-fortellinger og andre fortellinger som behandler eksistensielle spørsmål i et fortellende format. Og når man da stiller den typen spørsmål, så vil språkmodellen fortsette å fortelle den historien, og skiller ikke mellom hva som er funksjon og hva som er sakprosa. Så alle disse fortellingene de ligger overalt. Det er ikke bare for de som driver med kreativ skriving, at det narrativet i språkmodellene er interessant. Ikke minst så forteller de fortellingene vi forteller, sier noe om hvilke forestillinger vi har, og de forsterker de forestillingene vi har. Og de er overalt i språket, og dermed så havner de også overalt i språkmodellene. Og i en verden hvor språkmodellene produserer stadig mer tekst, hvilke fortellinger er det da som fortelles? Takk for meg.
Thanks so much. We've run out of time, but I do want to let you know that Ola over here has some of our annual reports that read like, I asked them to make them like in-flight magazines, so you can learn more about our research there. And you can also follow us at uib.no/cdn or via the podcast Off Center. Just search your favorite podcast platform for Off Center, Center for Digital Narrative. And you'll find out more about all of the research that we're doing in the center. And thank you all for coming, and thanks to Nora.